Hey, what's up, Hog Pods? Got a great interview here for you that I'm doing this evening with my good friend. We've never met in person, but I'm talking to Steve St.John with Rotten Apple Exotics, correct?
Yes, sir.
Give me a little bit about your business name, how you came up with that.
So, Rotten Apple Exotics came from my girlfriend. I was actually trying to come up with something different, something unique. And every time I just came up with something, it felt like I found some roadblocks and just it wasn't clicking and it just didn't sound right. And I just kept pondering some names and thinking of stuff. And, one day the girlfriend just looks at me and she goes, "Hey, what do you think about Rotten Apple Exotics?" And it just kind of jumped out at me, and she threw out some other names, and I don't even remember what those were. And I just kept coming back to that, and so it stuck, and I that's what I'm going with, So
Very cool. I think the first time I saw you was when you popped on Instagram. I mean, we had talked a few times about the books and things like that, but at least when I first saw that name was when you released pictures of the Shatter project that you're working, and I was like, who is this? And trying to make the connection, and I was like, oh, it's Steve, So I remember reaching out to you, and we talked about stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously hognose are your focus. Have you worked with other reptile species previously? And do you keep any other species besides hognose right now?
Way back in the day, I wasn't looking to breed anything. I was just a keeper at the time. And I pretty much had just about everything I could get my hands on. And, at the time I was married, anything that she would allow me to keep in the house. We ended up designating a room in the house just for the animals. And I filled it up with tanks and enclosures and everything that I could fit them in and put them in, and anywhere I could put them, I kept everything. Iguanas, other snakes, tarantulas, scorpions. I had probably an 8-foot albino Burmese, a lot of ball pythons, but never really had the idea or the incentive. Just because I wanted to actually breed or do anything like that. So yeah, it wasn't until 2019 when I decided to get into the hognose game. But like you said, hognose are my main animals that I work with. But currently, I also have a few Mexican black king snakes. I've got a couple Cali king snakes. I've got a pair of gray banded king snakes. Currently, the hognose are the only ones that I'm working with as far as for breeding. So I'm hoping to breed the king snakes in the future, but I'm raising those up. So
very cool. Yeah, I've got a king snake myself, a desert king, and I work with a few Pituophis and some turtles. And so, yeah, I definitely get just working with multi-species. I think hognose are the primary for me, and just the other ones I just have a general interest in and whatnot. So, yeah, I definitely get that, man. Question 3 goes right into it perfectly. What's your favorite hognose morph and why?
That's kind of a tough one. My absolute favorite is probably my Shatter, only because it's what I created and, produced, whether she's something that's brand new or she is just a combo that nobody else has ever seen before. That's pretty much my favorite. But between all of the different colors, the morphs, it's really hard to narrow it down to just one particular. There's so many cool ones out there. Lucy's, I love Lucy's just because they're a pure white snake. I know some people get bored with that, but I just think it's absolutely cool. Xanthics, those are really cool. Anything in all of them. Supercondiform. I love Supercondis just because I love that it takes out all that pattern. It seems like it just cleans up the snake completely. Other than Shatter, the Superconda would probably be my absolute favorite. and then just, in whatever color I can get that in, I'll take that.
Very cool. Yeah, it was hard for me to think about. I was like, man, if I asked myself that same question or somebody asked me, I wouldn't know what to say because I'm like you. There's so much in hognose that are cool. Stuff I've created or stuff other people have made or combos. It's like, it's hard for me to put one thing down. But yeah, I'm kind of like you, man. I can really relate to that. Super condas are pretty cool, especially in the variability of, changing the color of that head stamp or the body color or whatever. There are some remarkable ones out there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So jumping into question number 4, little deeper thought here with it. Any frustrations with the hognose hobby? Meaning it could be the marketplace, could be other keepers and breeders, could be problems that you see with, standards in our industry, hognose in general. What are your thoughts? And are there any steps that you're taking towards rectifying maybe any of the things you see problems with?
So this one kind of took me a bit to actually think about and actually kind of try to come up with, because it's not a real simple cut and dry answer, right?
True.
I mean, I think all of us can find something that we're going to dislike, or there's something that we're not going to agree with on. But I'll do my best to give you my thought, my opinion on it.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned. So, okay, here's the biggest frustration I have. Good luck only buying one or a couple hognose.
Yeah, right.
You will not be able to. Once you start seeing how many colors and morphs that are out there, you're going to want to collect them all. So, I mean, that's my biggest complaint right there. You can't have just one. You can't just have 5. I mean, man, I'm probably up to about 70 now at the moment. That's with everything I've produced also. So that's the biggest one. But, like the community, there's a lot of people that I look up to and I talk to, you being one of them. There's a few other people that have been in this game for a long time. There's some people that I've talked to that kind of frustrate me because, they're so deep into this that sometimes I think they forget, what it was like when you were first starting out, or when you were just a couple years into this, that, they kind of overlook all that stuff, as what it was like to be brand new into this, to try to help some of these new guys coming up, such as myself. I mean, I'm been only in this now. I started collecting them in 2019, and I've only had 2 seasons under my belt, for breeding. So that's one of my frustrations, kind of as the community goes. With the animals, one thing that's just what frustrates me, and I think we all go through it, is just the picky eaters. The ones that don't want to eat, the ones that don't want to thrive as hatchlings, and then it's frustrating because if they don't thrive, then we end up losing them.
Right.
We can try our hardest to give that animal everything that it needs, and it's just not gonna take off. Which makes me wonder and think, I was talking to Dustin from Show Me Kitties. We were talking about this, and, he said, maybe if, even if you're showing them everything or giving them everything that you can, in your care, maybe that animal wouldn't get that in the wild, and they just weren't meant to survive. That's another big frustration, because it's like you can have everything exactly right for that animal, and there's no reason why they shouldn't feed, or want to eat, but they just refuse to. That's a real big frustration. It's just kind of, it comes with the territory, so.
Yeah, and I think that's the harsh reality. I think what he said, I like that. I mean, we like it and we don't. It's you love it and you hate it at the same time, because you're going, man, this is an animal that looks really cool and I want to work, or maybe it's just one of your animals that you just care about, and the feeding frustration is just there because the truth of the matter is they may not have survived in the wild anyway. And the harsh reality, I talked to somebody the other day and they said, man, I've got a 250 gram female just out of hibernation, ate 2 or 3 times. They're really excited about pairing, and they go and open up the tub and she rolled. And they're like, there's no reason this animal should have rolled. She's fed well her whole life, got great temperament, never missed a meal, not obese, not thin. But we don't know. There's a lot that we can't see. It could be genetic. It could be environmental. I mean, you just never know. And so, yeah, it's that definitely is a frustration with live anything.
Right. It's a live animal. It's a live creature. So anytime that you have something in your care, whether it's only a month old or it's, 10 years old when it passes, and for me at least, and I think for a lot of people, it's heartbreaking. It's really frustrating. It's really sad. I try not to take it personal, when an animal does pass in my care. But I do question, is there something I could have done differently? Is there something that, should I have done this instead of this? You're always, I think at least, you're always second guessing on, what can I change or what should I have changed to help that animal actually thrive.
And I think that's the thing right there. People that don't ever question it and they just go up, oh, well, throw it in the trash or in the freezer or whatever. That's when there's a problem. If there's not man, what happened here? It's a frustration. It's and if you build a connection with an animal, they call that in biology, they call that imprinting, when there's a connection made, like chickens. That's why when a lot of times you see people walking around like on a farm or a homestead, and these little chicks are following that person. A lot of times those chicks will hatch in the care of a person instead of their mom. And what they do is psychologically, those little chicks imprint, meaning that they make that connection with the person. Like, okay, this is my source now. This is the person that feeds me, cares for me, looks after me. And we do the same thing with the snake. Some people will say, no, you can't do that with a hognose snake. But I guarantee you, hognose snakes, or any snake for that matter, can make a connection with you. So when they do pass, for us, if you've made a connection, an emotional connection, you've got time spent there, there is a sadness involved with it. It's like, man, why did it turn out like this? So I definitely get it, man. It can be a huge frustration.
Yeah. I mean, not to keep going on about that, but, as far as the imprinting goes, I believe that 100%, because if I go down in my snake room, that I've built and I've got all my animals in there, and I walk in and all my snakes are, majority of them will come to the front of the tub, of each of their tubs, and they're sitting there looking at me. I mean, to me, that tells me, okay, they think it's feeding time. They see me. They think they're going to get fed. And sometimes, if it's feeding day, yes, they're going to get fed. If it's just a cleaning day, sorry guys, you're not going to get food today. You got food yesterday, or you got food 2 days ago, whatever, So I believe that as well, that, yeah, our snakes, if we do have that imprinting with them, that they recognize us as a food source, and, that they're going to get fed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I definitely get that. And leading into question number 5, any wisdom that you've gained over the last, 5 years, I guess this year, as a hognose keeper, what would you go back and tell yourself? If there's wisdom that you've gained or gleaned over the years, what would you go back and tell the beginner you that may help you to be more successful?
Be patient. Have patience. I am not a person that is very patient with anything in my life. Okay. These snakes have taught me patience because of they don't always want to eat. As soon as they come out of the egg, and you let them set for however long, so that they can soak up that yolk from the sac and everything, until they shed and they're ready to go, and you try to give them that meal and they won't eat. Be patient, take time, give them their space as well. Don't try to rush them. Don't try to instantly just feed them. And even as adults, just be patient with them, just because the adults are going to test you as well, as far as the going off of food, their hunger strikes. I've had males that they'll go 2-3 months without eating, and then, they'll eat. So patience is like the number one thing that if I could go back in time and tell myself in 2019, you're going to learn patience. If nothing else, you're going to learn it with these animals, because they are going to test it every single day. Every single time that you work with that animal, it's going to test your patience.
Yeah, I think we look for, it's just human nature to look for things that are calculated. And because we have so much that's not live, the microwave, you push 1, 2, 3, and you're going to get 123 seconds, of what, I'm just saying, whatever you put in, you're going to get back. That's the way a lot of times I think we look at situations. And there can be mechanical failures. I'm not saying that. But with a live animal, it's such a bigger worm. It's such a bigger, complication. It does take not only a learning curve, but you're right, man, 100%. And you're not the first that said that. There's a lot of folks that are that have the same wisdom to look back and give themselves. So, it's amazing thing. I'm like you, man. I get so excited about projects and the way an animal could look. And a lot of times it's hard to scale that back and be patient with it. And the breeding thing for me is a lot of times frustrating, because you got an animal that's prime weight, 200 grams, 180 grams, 250 grams, ready to go, and the male isn't interested, or she doesn't cycle for some strange reason, or they stop feeding altogether and they don't have their weight, or there's a million things that could throw in there. So yeah, you're right, 100%, man. Patience you have to have patience in dealing with any live animal.
Yeah, it's just, you're working with something that has a mind of its own,
right.
Obviously, right? So for you to sit there and go, okay, you are going to eat right now, good luck with that. Or, you two are going to breed right now, and in X amount of days, I'm going to have eggs and they're going to come out perfect. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's nothing in this hobby that I've learned in the last 5 years that is perfect.
True.
I'm learning stuff every single day. I'm trying to figure out stuff every single day. I think, you're always going to be learning, but, it's just that patience game.
I just want to say thanks, man, for being on the show. And I want to encourage everybody listening, make sure to check out the description below. You're going to find links to Steve's social media accounts. If you haven't seen his shatter animal, I've never seen anything like it. And it's on his Rotten Apple Exotics on Instagram. You can see pictures of that animal and some of the wild-looking progeny he hatched from some of his pairings. I think you'll be just really intrigued by some of the things he's got going on. And Steve, man, I'm just really grateful that you took the time out of your day to join us and contribute along with all the other guests that we've had on the show. Yeah, man, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, as always, for tuning in to Hognose One Podcast. What a great interview. Lots of takeaways there from the stuff Steve shared. You can just really hear and sense the heart that's there and the experience speaking. A lot of folks, do these rants on social media about how nothing bad ever happens to them or has happened to them in their collections. And we all know it's, if you've been here for a little while, that it's just a matter of time before you encounter things that can be a challenge. But as far as books go, if you haven't got any of the Hognose book series, Jermaine Guy over at Shovel Nose Hogs has become the primary promoter for, or exclusive promoter for those books. Check out his recent videos starting about June 15th, and he will have a special promo code for my book printer book baby. Any of the 5 Hognose titles that I have out will be available for that discount. It's the deepest discount we've offered yet. Make sure to get that code before you hop over there to buy. As far as availability goes here at Hognose One, we have lots of stuff we're feeding up. I've got some really cool Project Redhead stuff. You might say, what in the world is Project Redhead? Project Red is actually a group of hognose snakes, about 6 different bloodlines that I've combined to make what I believe to be arguably the best red bloodlines in captivity. So I combined Raging Red, I combined Phoenix Red, Extreme Red, Purple Line, I combined Red Shadow, and I combined a local bloodline of reds just to make some really cool animals. So within one spectrum of that project, we have the Project Redhead, and that's a lineage within those lines that produces a really fantastic, deep orange saturation right around the head. Sometimes it can lend to a little bit of orange striping and just produces a real phenomenal animal by the time it hits, males is about 55 grams and females is around 100, 125 grams. They really just start to pop. Not quite as red as the red spectrum, but they're still a neat animal that just has a really cool, rich saturation right there, right around the crown and the neck area. So definitely something kind of cool. Got a few of those available. I did decide to sell a few pairs of the Shadow Triple Het Permafrost. If you don't know what permafrost is, they are a remarkable triple homozygous visual of sable, caramel, and hypo. And the ones I've produced, I crossed the Shadow bloodline into, and it just makes for a phenomenal animal. Initially, when it hatched, it just comes out this cobalt blue, kind of a light cobalt blue, and with age, it does gray out a little bit, but it just has remarkable blues and reds and some other coloration in there that's really neat. We thought it was axanthic initially just because it was so gray and blue as a baby, but as it grew up, I realized that the shadow gene is contributing to the darker coloration there, and just phenomenal stuff. So I've got a few pairs of those. If you're interested in anything like that, you can feel free to reach out. I may consider letting go one of the Arctic storm clouds that I hatched out this year. I have one male of those that's getting close to being ready. So if you're looking for a powerhouse male to throw on some of your projects, I'm going to hang on to one of them I hatched, and then I have another one that is available also. So cool stuff there. Feel free to reach out or check out my social media profiles. Do a lot of Instagram videos about that to promote some of those bloodlines. And as always, catch you guys on the flip side.